The land is wide, flat, and open, with only the wind to fill the silence. This is the steppe dry grass underfoot, sky above that never ends, and air so sharp it feels like a blade on your skin. You're standing in a place where the wind has no walls to stop it, where the horses are faster than you've ever seen, where a man can be born with nothing and still shape the world. This is where Genghis Khan came from. Not a palace, not a throne, not wealth or comfort, just this grass, cold nights, hunger, and the will to survive. He wasn't born with the name Genghis. He was born as Temujin, a boy on the steppe. His family wasn't powerful. His people weren't united. His father was poisoned. His tribe abandoned him. He lived with wolves at the edge of the world. He hunted rats, ate wild roots, tied pieces of broken wood into bows. He didn't learn to rule. He learned to endure, and slowly he rose. Not by luck, not by birthright, by strength, by cleverness, by knowing when to show mercy and when to strike without warning. He brought the scattered Mongol tribes together, tribes that had hated each other for generations, that fought over water, over horses, over pride. He united them under one rule, his rule. They called him Genghis Khan. It meant universal ruler, and he made sure the name fit. He wasn't tall, he wasn't dressed in gold. He didn't sit in a hall made of stone. He wore fur, rode fast, slept under the stars, like every other man in his army. But when he spoke, they listened, because Genghis Khan didn't just want to rule the steppe, he wanted the world, and he almost took it. His empire grew larger than anyone thought possible, bigger than Rome, bigger than Alexander's, from China to Europe, from the forests of Siberiato, the deserts of Persia, and he didn't do it with castles, or fleets, or politics. He did it with horses, bows, speed, discipline, and fear. His army moved faster than any army the world had seen. They rode hard, shot arrows while galloping, carried little, slept light, killed quickly. They could cross entire kingdoms in days, and by the time the enemy heard they were coming, they were already there. But being in his army, that was something else. It wasn't like being a soldier today. There were no breaks, no tents with warm food, no medals, no promises, only survival. You had to train ride until your legs ached, shoot until your fingers bled, obey without hesitation. Genghis didn't allow excuses or mistakes. One wrong move could cost your life, or your unit's life, or a village's life. He ruled with reward and punishment. He gave land to the loyal. He gave death to the disobedient. And yet his men followed him, because he didn't just take, he gave. He shared what was won. He lifted men from nothing and gave them power, gave them purpose. He created ordering a world of chaos. But the order came at a cost. Towns burned, walls fell, populations vanished. His enemies feared him. They told stories of his cruelty, how he'd level cities to dust leave, pyramids of skulls behind, make an example of anyone who resisted. But those who joined him, they were protected, elevated, part of something bigger than any tribe, any nation. He allowed freedom of religion. He respected talent. He built roads, opened trade, wrote laws that even he had to follow. He wasn't just a conqueror. He was a system, a storm and a structure, a destroyer and a builder. And once you were in his army, there was no turning back. You lived on your horse, slept beside your bow, ate dried meat and drank fermented milk, traveled through snow and sand and blood. And every time the sun rose, you knew you might not see it set, because Genghis kept moving, and if you were behind, you were left, no matter who you were. He built the greatest empire the world had ever seen, not through kindness, not through peace, through fire, steel, and the will to never stop. And you've just taken your first step onto that frozen step. Your breath curls in the morning air. Your horse waits beside you. Your bow is strung. Your hands are shaking because somewhere in the distance, beyond the hills, beyond the wind, he is watching. Genghis Khan, the man who started with nothing and took everything, and now you ride for him. The wind cuts across your face, dry, sharp, unforgiving. You tighten your scarf, but it does nothing. The cold still finds your skin. It slips down your collar, into your sleeves, through your bones. The training begins at sunrise, but you were awake long before that. Sleep doesn't come easy here. Not when the ground is frozen, not when the fire goes out, not when your body aches from yesterday. You hear the voice of the commander. He shouts in the gray morning. Short words, clear commands. Everyone moves. There are no tents, no soft clothes, no breakfast waiting. Just your horse, your bow, and the others, like you, standing still, eyes heavy, faces blank. You mount up fast. You have to. Speed is everything. The horse is not just a tool. It is part of you. You sleep beside it, ride it all day, drink its milk, sometimes its blood, because there's no other choice. You ride fast, hard, no warm dash up, no rest. You lean forward, press your chest low, grip with your knees, let the wind whip past. Now dash, shoot. You reach for your bow, pull an arrow from your side, string it, and fire all without stopping. You miss. Not just once, many times, but you don't stop riding. You don't slow down the others. Shoot better. They hit the target again and again. Arrows thudding into wood like a drumbeat of survival. You reload. Try again. Your fingers are stiff from the cold. Your back is sore from the saddle. Your eyes water from the wind. Still, you shoot, because if you stop, if you fall behind, you draw attention. And here, attention is dangerous. The commanders don't yell often. They don't need to. You already know what happens if you make a mistake. You've seen it. A man forgets a command. He gets whipped. A man loses his horse. He walks for miles. A man disobeys her, slows the unit. He's left behind. Sometimes worse, you feel hunger claw at your stomach. But no one eats yet. You ride until your thighs burn, until your arms shake from drawing the bowstring over and over again. Then you dismow, fast, land, on your feet, draw your sword, drill, strike, step, again. Your breath comes out in clouds. Your shoulders feel like stone. You can't remember the last time your hands were warm. You look around. No one else is complaining. No one dares, because here there is no room for weakness. You train not just to fight, but to survive. You learn how to take apart a bow, even in the dark. You learn how to mend your saddle with a sliver of bone. You learn how to make a fire with dungened frozen fingers. You learn how to eat. Dried meat cracks your teeth. How to ride for hours with no water. How to shoot behind you while your horse gallops forward. You don't ask questions. You don't talk unless spoken to. You follow orders like they are breath, because Genghis Khan's army is not a place for the soft. It is a machine, sharp, precise. Every part moving together. If you're out of sync, you break it. If you slow it down, you become a threat. So you adapt. You stop wiping your hands. You stop looking for comfort. You eat when told, sleep when allowed, speak when commanded. You feel the pain in your legs but don't show it. You feel the fear but hold it tight at night. You eat what little you have, some dried meat, a handful of curd, if you're lucky, a piece of stale bread. You boil water from Snower, a nearby stream, and you sit with the others. No fires, too much smoke, only silence, the sound of horses breathing, leather creaking, someone sharpening a blade, and the wind, always the wind. You wonder how long you've been training. Days blur together. Your muscles stop aching. They go numb. Your bow feels lighter now. Your aim is better. Your hands no longer shake. You begin to understand what this training is for. It's not just about shooting straight, not just about riding fast. It's about turning you into something different, something quiet, quick, dangerous, unshaken by pain, unafraid of silence, ready for anything. Because in this army, you don't fight once and go home. You ride across continents. You sleep in strange lands. You fight in forests, in deserts, on mountains. You obey orders without pause, even if they lead to death. And this training, this endless, punishing routine is your preparation. It breaks you, then remakes you. You lie down in the dark, your body pressed against the earth. No blanket, no pillow, only the weight of your gear. The smell of horses, the sky full of stars. You stare up, and somewhere out there, Genghis Khan is riding. He doesn't know your name. He doesn't need to. You are one of many, part of something vast, a piece of the storm he commands. And if you're strong enough, fast enough, ruthless enough, you might ride with him into battle. But first, you have to wake up tomorrow and do it all again. The sun is still below the edge of the world, but you are already awake, not because someone called you, but because the cold never let you sleep, not fully. You shift beneath your thin blanket, but it does little. The frost has crept in through the seams of your clothing. You feel it in your knees, your fingers, your teeth. Your horse stands nearby, breathing steam into the morning dark. You reach for your saddle, half frozen, half wet, and stiff from last night's snow. You slept on the ground again. You don't remember the last time you slept on anything else. There is no tent, no bedroll, no soft place to lie, only earth, rock, snow, and whatever your cloak can cover. But there's no time to think about that now. No time for stretching, no time for food, no time for warmth. The order comes. Move, and so you do. You climb into the saddle-bear. Your hands are ready. Your feet find the stirrups even. Though they're numb, you hold the reins. The wind wakes up with a growl. It doesn't matter how tired you are. There is no break, no pause, no weekend. You ride all day, over hills, across rivers, through forests where branches scrape your arms, and valleys where the sun never reaches the ground. You ride through fog, dust, sandstorms, and sometimes rain that feels like needles. The land does not wait for you to recover. The land does not wait for you to recover. It keeps moving, so you must, too. If you fall behind, no one comes back for you. You were trained for this, to keep riding when your body wants to stop, to keep your eyes open when your mind starts to drift. Sometimes your horse stumbles. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you dream while awake, but you never stop moving. Meals happen when they happen. If they happen, you eat on horseback dried meat, a handful of hard cheese, maybe a gulp of fermented milk. If you drop it too, go hungry. If you don't have any you, go hungry. The commanders don't slow down. The carts keep rolling. The lines stretch for miles. There are no inns, no fires, no taverns to rest in. Just more Landon, the sound of hooves. Sometimes you ride into the night, under stars, under moonlight, through blackness so deep you can't see your own handless. It's holding a weapon. Even then, you're not really safe. Bandits, wild animals, spies, storms, every shadow holds a warning. Every silence feels too loud. And when you stop, when the army halts at last, you don't relax. You build camp, tie the horses, check the weapons, guard the supplies. Maybe then you eat again. Maybe you sit down beside your horse, lean against the saddle, close your ice fur just a moment. But you don't sleep, not fully, not deeply. You can't, you know, better, because the order to move can come at any time in the dark, in the middle of a meal, in the middle of a sentence. You learn to wake fast, to pack faster, to ride without thinking. Your world becomes motion, endless motion, from the edge of the Empirato, the edge of the next dot, from one villagetto the next fortress, from snow-covered Stepisto deserts that burn your skin before midday, and still you ride. Sometimes weeks pass without real rest. No change of clothes, no fresh water, just the same routine, over and over. Eat, ride, fight, guard, ride, sleep if there's time, if there's safety, if your body allows it. You lose track of the days. The land changes, but the pace never does. There's always another target, another city, another battle, waiting just over the horizon. Even when there's peace, you keep moving, scouting, training, carrying messages, following the herd, patrolling the edge. And when you hear the cry of an eagle circling above your head, you know this is what Genghis Khan built. An army that never rests, never stops, never waits. You aren't just a man anymore. You're a part of the storm, a piece of the wind that crosses mountain sand, never slows down. You wonder, sometime, long this can go on, how long a man can live without rest. But you don't ask out loud, because no one else does. No. One talks about the pain in their legs, the frostbite on their fingers, the nights they woke with, the scream of a nightmare in their throat, and no one to hear it. You just keep moving, because that's the rule. Forward, always forward, until the day your horse goes down, or your body fails, or your luck runs out. And when that day comes, you will lie in the dirt, the wind howling over you, and someone else will take your place, because the army never stops. It cannot afford to. Genghis Khan made sure of that. And you chose to ride with him. Now you ride without rest. Your stomach growls again. It's been doing that a lot. At first, you tried to ignore it. Then you tried to laugh about it. Now you just listen to it like a second heartbeat, a reminder that food is not promised. Not out here. The army doesn't stop for meals. There is no table to sit at. No fire crackling beside a warm bowl. No smell of stew wafting in from a kitchen. You eat when you can. You eat what you're given. And often, you eat while riding. You reach into the pouch tied at your waist. It holds dried meat, not fresh, not soft, just hard strips, brown and salty, cut thin and dried in the sun. Tough enough to make your jaw ache, but it keeps, and that's what matters. You tear off a piece with your teeth, chew slowly, swallow without tasting. It's not about pleasure, it's about fuel sometimes. If the sun is strong, you tuck the meat inside your shirto, warm it up to soften it just a little. If you're lucky, you have some cheese too, hard and sour, made from goat's milk or sheep's. Crumbles when you bite it, but sits heavy in your belly. You drink milk when it's there, from your horse, from a goat, from a mare you passed on the steppe. It's not cold, not sweet, it's fermented, thick, sharp. ARAG, they call it. Fermented mare's milk. It bubbles slightly on your tongue, tastes like sour smoke, but it gives you strength, and sometimes, just sometimes it gives you warmth too. You carry a skin of idiot to your saddle, .slo, shy, .dust, covered, but precious. Water isn't always safe. Sometimes it's frozen, sometimes it's gone, sometimes it runs with the color of mud, so you drink what you can. Milk soup made from boiled bone, the broth cloudy and thin, but full of life. And then there's blood. You don't talk about it often, but everyone knows. When things get bad, when there's no food and no water, when your lips are crackadand, your hands are shaking, you turn to the horse, not to kill it, never that. A horse is life out here. It carries you, it feeds you, it saves you, but it also gives blood. You pull a small arrowhead from your pouch, tie the reins, speak softly to the horse, then pierce the vein in its neck just enough, just a little. The blood flows into a cup, dark, warm, still, moving. You seal the wound, whisper thanks, then drink. It tastes like iron, like soil and heat. You close your eyes, swallow, feel it slide down your throat. It's not for flavor, it's not a choice, it's survival. That's what eating is here. You don't count calories, you don't ask, what's for dinner? You don't get favorites. You eat to move, to ride, to fight, to live. Sometimes, on rare nights, you catch something fresh, a rabbit, a bird, a deer. You build a fire, carefully, quietly, roast the meat, share it, not in silence, but in something close. A moment, a flicker of something soft. Before the cold returns, before the orders start again. Some soldiers carry ground, millet, or barley. You boil it when you can. If you find water, if you find time, it tastes like wet dust, but fills you. There are no sweets, no fruit, no warm bread. You don't crave flavor anymore, just fullness. Sometimes you go dice without anything at all. The land offers nothing. The supply carts are behind. The herds have moved. You feel light, hollow, like a drum that echoes when you walk. But you keep going, because hunger is part of this life. Because your body learns to wait, to squeeze strength out of scraps. You tighten your belt, chew the same piece of meat again, swallow air, and ride on. You learn to notice everything. The smell of cooking from a distant camp, the twitch of a rabbit in the grass, the soft hum of a pot bubbling in a village ahead. Your senses sharpen, not for beauty, for survival. And when food finally comes, a full cup, a slab of meat, a handful of warm grain, you don't celebrate, you just eat. Quiet, focused, because you know it may be the last meal for a while. You don't waste a crumb. You don't eat too fast. You don't forget how it feels to be hungry. And when you lie down at night, belly half full, head against your saddle, you don't dream of feasts. You don't dream of tables. You dream of warmth, of stillness, of not needing food beckos. The next ride never comes, but morning always returns, and with it the same pouch, the same dried meat, the same sharp milk. You take a bite, wipe your hands, swing into the saddle, and keep going. Because in Genghis Khan's army, eating isn't pleasure. It's just what keeps you a live-along in auto fight. Another day the horn sounds in the dark, not loud, not long, but everyone hears it. You open your eyes. You don't remember falling asleep. Maybe you never did, just drifted in and out, half watching the stars, half listening to the night. Now there's no time for dreams. You stand, quick, quiet, hands already moving, reaching for your gear, bow, quiver, sword, helmet. You don't speak, no one does. The others rise to a sea of shadows moving across the cold grass, breath rising in white clouds, horses stirring. You saddle fast, you check every strap, you make sure the blades are tied. Down tight but loose enough to draw. Your heart is already racing, not because you're afraid, not yet, but because your body knows what's coming. The ride and the fight. You mount, grip the reins, and wait. Then dash another sound, sharp, commanding. You move. The army doesn't march. It sweeps across the steppe like a shadow in motion. No shouting, no clanking armor, no flaming banners, just hooves, hundreds, thousands, pounding the frozen earth like thunder. You ride through darkness, through fog, past low hills and cold rivers. You reach the edge of the field just as the sky begins to turn gray. You see the village in the distance, the city walls, the defenders lining the top, their silhouettes stiff with fear. They know what's coming. They've heard the stories. They've seen the smoke. They know the name, Genghis Khan, and his army. You are the last thing they wanted to see. Your commander speaks, quick orders, riders break. Off in silence, circling, surrounding you, notch an arrow. Feel the familiar pull of the string, the bite of tension in your shoulder. You wait, then a shout. You release. A storm of arrows fills the air, black shapes, flying like angry birds. They fall like rain. You hear the screams before the arrows land, then more screams when they do. You ride fast, straight into the open, toward the walls, toward the enemy. You feel the wind against your face, the thump of hooves in your chest. Your horse doesn't slow, and neither do you. Another arrow, another shot. You fire again without thinking. You've practiced this 1,000 times. Now it's real. Closer now, you see their eyes, wide, panicked, some running, some shouting. Your front line crashes into them like a wave. Swords out, spears lowered, no time for hesitation. You leap from the saddle, blade drawn, feet hitting earth like a hammer. You swing, and swing again, the weight of the sword pulling at your wrist. You don't aim, you react. A shield blocks your strike, a spear grazes your arm. You don't stop, you can't. You know better, because the order to move can come at any time, in the dark, in the middle of a meal, in the middle of a sentence. You learn to wake fast, to pack faster, to ride without thinking. Your world becomes motion, endless motion. From the edge of the imperetto, the edge of the next, From one villa ghetto the next fortress, from snow-covered stepisto deserts that burn your skin before midday, and still you ride. Sometimes weeks pass without real rest, no change of clothes, no fresh water, just the same routine, over and over. Eat, ride, fight, guard, ride, sleep, if there's time, if there's safety, if your body allows it. You lose track of the days. The land changes, but the pace never does. There's always another target, another city, another battle waiting just over the horizon. Even when there's peace, you keep moving, scouting, training, taught carrying messages, following the herd, patrolling the edge. And when you hear the cry of an eagle circling above your head, you know this is what Genghis Khan built, an army that never rests, never stops, never waits. You aren't just a man anymore. You're a part of the storm, a piece of the wind that crosses mountain sand, never slows down. You wonder sometimes, how long this can go on, how long a man can live without rest. But you don't ask out loud, because no one else does know. One talks about the pain in their legs, the frostbite on their fingers, the nights they woke with, the scream of a nightmare in their throat, and no one to hear it. You just keep moving, because that's the rule. Forward. Always forward, until the day your horse goes down, or your body fails, or your luck runs out. And when that day comes, you will lie in the dirt, the wind howling over you, and someone else will take your place, because the army never stops. It cannot afford to. Genghis Khan made sure of that, and you chose to ride with him. Now you ride without rest. Your stomach growls again. It's been doing that a lot at first. You tried to ignore it, then you tried to laugh about it. Now you just listen to it like a second heartbeat, a reminder that food is not promised. Not out here. The army doesn't stop for meals. There is no table to sit at, no fire crackling beside a warm bowl, no smell of stew wafting in from a kitchen. You eat when you can. You eat what you're given, and often you eat while riding. You reach into the pouch tied at your waist. It holds dried meat, brown and salty, cut thin and dried in the sun, tough enough to make your jaw ache, but it keeps, and that's what matters. You tear off a piece with your teeth, chew slowly, swallow without tasting. It's not about pleasure, it's about fuel sometimes. If the sun is strong, you tuck the meat inside your shirto, warm it up to soften it just a little. If you're lucky, you have some cheese, too, hard and sour, made from goat's milk or sheep's. Crumbles when you bite it, but sits heavy in your belly. You drink milk one, it's there, from your horse, from a goat, from a mare you passed on the steppe. It's not cold, not sweet. It's fermented, thick, sharp, thick, sharp, AIRAG, they call it. Fermented mare's milk. It bubbles slightly on your tongue, tastes like sour smoke, but it gives you strength, and sometimes, just sometimes it gives you warmth, too. You carry a skin of itid to your saddle, SLO shy, dust covered. But precious water isn't always safe. Sometimes it's frozen, sometimes it's gone, sometimes it runs with the color of mud, so you drink what you can. Milk, soup, made from boiled bone, the broth, cloudy and thin, but full of life, and then there's blood. You don't talk about it often, but everyone knows. When things get bad, when there's no food and no water, when your lips are crackadand, your hands are shaking, you turn to the horse, not to kill it. Never that. A horse is life out here. It carries you, it feeds you, it saves you, but it also gives blood. You pull a small arrowhead from your pouch, tie the reins, speak softly to the horse, then pierce the vein in its neck just enough, just a little. The blood flows into a cup, dark, dark, warm, still. Moving, you seal the wound, whisper, thanks. Then drink. It tastes like iron, like soil and heat. You close your eyes, swallow, feel it slide down your throat. It's not for flavor. It's not a choice. It's survival. That's what eating is here. You don't count calories. You don't ask, what's for dinner? You don't get favorites. You eat to move, to ride, to fight, to live. Sometimes, on rare nights, you catch something fresh, a rabbit, a bird, a deer. You build a fire, carefully, quietly, roast the meat, share it. A moment, a flicker of something soft, before the cold returns, before the orders start again. Some soldiers carry ground, millet, or barley. You boil it when you can. If you find water, if you find time, it tastes like wet dust, but fills you. There are no sweets, no fruit, no warm bread. You don't crave flavor anymore, just fullness. Sometimes you go dice without anything at all. The land offers nothing. The supply carts are behind. The herds have moved. You feel light, hollow, like a drum that echoes when you walk. But you keep going, because hunger is part of this life. Because your body learns to wait, to squeeze strength out of scraps. You tighten your belt, chew the same piece of meat again, swallow air, and ride on. You learn to notice everything. The smell of cooking from a distant camp, the twitch of a rabbit in the grass, the soft hum of a pot bubbling in a village ahead. Your senses sharpen, not for beauty, for survival. And when food finally comes, a full cup, a slab of meat, a handful of warm grain, you don't celebrate, you just eat. Quiet, focused, because you know it may be the last meal for a while. You don't waste a crumb. You don't eat too fast. You don't forget though. It feels to be hungry. And when you lie down at night, belly half full, head against your saddle, you don't dream of feasts. You don't dream of tables. You dream of warmth, of stillness, of not needing food bakos. The next ride never comes, but morning always returns, and with it the same pouch, the same dried meat, the same sharp milk. You take a bite, wipe your hands, swing into the saddle, and keep going. Because in Genghis Khan's army, eating isn't pleasure. It's just what keeps you a live-along in NATO fight. Another day, the horn sounds in the dark. Not loud, not long, but everyone hears it. You open your eyes. You don't remember falling asleep. Maybe you never did. Just drifted in and out, half watching the stars, half listening to the night. Now there's no time for dreams. You stand, quick, taut, quiet, hands already moving, reaching for your gear. Bow, quiver, sword, helmet. You don't speak. No one does. The others rise to a sea of shadows moving across the cold grass, breath rising in white clouds, horses stirring. You saddle fast. You check every strap. You make sure the blades are tied down tight but loose enough to draw. Your heart is already racing, not because you're afraid, not yet, but because your body knows what's coming. The ride and the fight. You mount, grip the reins, and wait, then dash. Another sound, sharp, commanding. You move. The army doesn't march. It sweeps across the steppe like a shadow in motion. No shouting, no clanking armor, no flaming banners, just hooves. Hundreds, thousands, pounding the frozen earth like thunder. You ride through darkness, through fog, past low hills and cold rivers. You reach the edge of the field just as the sky begins to turn gray. You see the village in the distance, the city walls, the defenders lining the top, their silhouettes stiff with fear. They know what's coming. They've heard the stories. They've seen the smoke. They know the name, Genghis Khan and his army. You are the last thing they wanted to see. Your commander speaks. Quick orders. Riders break. Off in silence. Circling, surrounding. You notch an arrow. Feel the familiar pull of the string. The bite of tension in your shoulder. You wait, then a shout. You release. A storm of arrows fills the air. Black shapes, flying like angry birds. They fall like rain. You hear the screams before the arrows land. Then more screams when they do. You ride fast, straight, into the open, toward the walls, toward the enemy. You feel the wind against your face, the thump of hooves in your chest. Your horse doesn't slow, and neither do you. Another arrow, another shot. You fire again without thinking. You've practiced this 1,000 times. Now it's real. Closer now you see their eyes. Wide, panicked. Some running, some shouting. Your front line crashes into them like a wave. Swords out, spears lowered. No time for hesitation. You leap from the saddle. Blade drawn, feet hitting earth like a hammer. You swing, and swing again. The weight of the sword pulling at your wrist. You don't aim. You react. A shield blocks your strike. A spear grazes your arm. You don't stop. You can't. The air is full of smoke, screaming, dust. You hear metal hitting bone. The wet sound of flesh, the sharp crack of arrows, hitting wood, the thud of someone falling behind you. You can't see everything. You don't try to. You focus on what's in front of you and hope nothing reaches your back. You remember the drills, the rules, the formations. But all of that is noise now. This is chaos, and you are inside it. A man charges. You duck. He swings wide. You drive your blade up. Feel the joltas. It meets something solid. He drops. You don't stop to check if he's dead. Someone else takes his place. The fight moves like fire. Fast, wild, unforgiving. You push forward. Step over bodies. Slip in mud that might not be just mud. You lose count of how many you've faced, or how many you've watched fall. It doesn't matter. Only survival matters. You look for your horse. It's still there, waiting, breathing hard. You mount again, not because it's safer, but because you have to move. You circle the town. Fire has started in one of the huts. Smoke climbs like a signal. The smell fills your lungs. You ride. Again, arrows fly past your ear. Close, too close. You turn, raise your shield, duck, low. Your horse keeps moving. You reach the wall, climb with others. Use ladders, use ropes, use whatever is left. At the top more defenders, tired, bleeding, desperate. You meet them with steel, no words, just breath. Grit. Strike. You swing until your arm aches, until your wrist shakes, until your vision blurs. But you don't stop. You can't. Not here, not now. Then a sound, a horn, different, this time. Low, final. You look. The gate is down. The defenders are falling back. Some are dropping weapons. Some are already dead. It's over. You stand there, blade dripping, chest heaving, your arms limp, your legs numb, and the silence is louder than the battle ever was. You walk through the streets, what's left of them, smoke, ash, shattered doors, crying, stillness, you wipe your face, but the blood stays yours, someone else's. You can't tell anymore. You find your horse, mount again, ride out, no celebration, no cheers, just dust in the wind, the knowledge that you are alive, and tomorrow another village, another city, another battle, because in Genghis Khan's army there is always another battle, and only the strongest ride on you sit in silence. The sun is just beginning to rise, a dim orange glow brushing over the edge of the steppe. Your horse breathes steadily beside you. Its sides rise and fall, calm now after the blood and smoke of yesterday. You survived, but survival isn't enough. Not here, not in this army, not under Genghis Khan around you. The others are quiet too. No one speaks. No one jokes, even after battle when victory has been taken. There's no celebrating Guntal. The rules are followed, and the rules that never sleep. The commander walks between you, slow, measured, watching every face, every hand, every eye that won't meet his. You feel your heart beat faster. You didn't do anything wrong, you think. But mistakes here, like ghosts, they follow the living. Then the commander stops, calls a name. The soldier stands stiff, still. Still, you don't know what he did. You might never know. But you see it in the way he doesn't speak, doesn't move, just waits. The judgment is swift. One sentence, one nod, two soldiers step forward. They grab him, drag him out of the circle. He does not fight. He knows it's useless. And then he's gone. Just like that. Because in Genghis Khan's army, the rules are not written on paper. They're written in action, in silence, in blood. Disobey an order, and you die. Steal from a brother and you die. Leave your unit even for a moment and you die. There is no warning, no debate, no second chance. Genghis Khan does not forgive mistakes. He cannot afford to, because his army is more than men and horses. It is precision, discipline, a living weapon. And weapons don't argue. You feel the weight of that knowledge every day. In every step you take, every command you hear, you do not question, you do not pause, even when the order is harsh, even when it feels wrong, even when it sends you into Dangerthat, makes your stomach turn. You go, you obey, because the order comes from above and above Fatis, the Khan himself. His word is law, not just for the army, for everyone. He built a code, the YASSA.no. One breaks it. If food is stolen, death. If a soldier strikes another in anger, death. If loot from battle is hidden instead of shared, death. If you turn your back in the face of the enemy, death. You think it sounds cruel, but that cruelty has kept the army alive. It has kept the units sharp, the men loyal, the mission focused, and Genghis Khan knows a single kraken break a wall, so he allows no cracks. You remember when a man lost his horse, it wasn't his fault. The animal stepped wrong, broke. Its leg fell in a stream. He returned on foot, covered in mud, shaking from cold. But that didn't matter. He had left his position, and he was punished, not just with words, with pain, with shame, with hours of silence from the rest of the unit. You didn't look at him. You didn't speak, because the rules said UCOULDN single quotes, because if you did, you'd be punished too. It's not always about death. Sometimes it's just in auto remind you. Standing guard through the night, running laps in full armor, carrying stones across miles of open field, sleeping without a blanket, eating last or not at all. The punishment fits the mistake, but it always fits. No one escapes it, not the lowest scout, not the highest commander. Even the sons of great warrior Sir Whipedwin, they disobey because Genghis Khan built this army on something solid. Order, and order needs rules. You learn them fast, where to stand, when to speak, how to ride, what to carry, what to do when the horn blows once, what to do when it blows twice. Every sound, every sign, every word, learned by heart, you sleep light, because you know a mistake can come even in dreams. And when the time comes to move, you don't hesitate, even if you're sore, even if you're bleeding, even if you haven't eaten in days. You move, because the rules don't care how you feel. They caliphate the army survives, and it always has, from the first tribes of the Steppeto, the walls of distant empires, because of those rules, because of fear, because of unity. You ride with Menwo would die for the Khan, and you would too, not because you want to, but because the rules have made you that way. And as the sun rises higher, you saddle your horse again, you pull your scarf tight, you tighten the strap on your quiver, you check the edge of your blade. You do it, all without thinking, without needing to be told, because in this army, obedience is not a choice, it is your life. And if you forget that even once you'll be gone before the sun sets, your legs are sore. Not the kind of sore that goes away after a stretch, not the kind that fades when you sit down. This is deeper bone dash deep, muscle dash deep, the kind that comes from riding for so long. You forget what it feels like to stand still, but you don't stop, because no one stops, not in this army, not under Genghis Khan. You shift your weight in the saddle, try to find a better position. There isn't one. Your horse moves steadily beneath you, strong and sure, dash-footed. It's not just carrying you, it's carrying your life. This horse is your shield, your legs, your home. You eat while riding, one hand on the reins, the other holding a strip of dried meat, a pouch of curd. You've learned to chew without biting your tongue, learned to swallow while bouncing over uneven ground. You sleep while riding to dot, not deeply, just enough. Your body rocks with the horse, and your eyes close on at a time, then both. Sometimes a voice shouts you awake. Sometimes your horse stumbles, and you jolt upright. Sometimes the cold just won't let you drift off. But still you rest, where you can, even if your legs are numb, even if your back screams, because there is no stopping. You cross rivers on horseback, climb mountains, chase enemies through forests and deserts. The horse doesn't complain, so neither do you. You've learned to ride one dash-handed dot, to fire a bow, while moving dot, to balance with your knees, to steer with your hips, to lean into the gallop as though you were born in the saddle. But you weren't, so you train every day, every hour you fall, get bruised, bleed. Then you get back on, because falling behind means being left behind, and no one waits you. Carry extra horses now, not just 1.2, sometimes 3, each one trained, each one trusted. When one tires, you switch fast, without missing a step, without losing the rhythm of the march, because speed is everything. The Mongol army moves like wind across the steppe, faster than anyone can imagine. Cities fall before the enemy even knows what's coming. All because of the horse. You care for it like it's family. You brush it down after every ride, clean its hooves, whisper to it. You sleep beside it, warmth shared between bodies, breath rising together in the dark. When food is scarce, you give it what you can. When water is low, you drink only after it does, because without it too are nothing. If your horse dies, you are in trouble, not just because you have to walk, but because you fall behind, lose formation, break the chain, and in this army, a broken link can mean disaster. You remember one rider, his horse was wounded, an arrow through the leg. It limped, slowed. He tried to lead it forward, tried to keep pace, but it wasn't enough. The column moved on. He faded from sight, and you never saw him again. No one spoke his name. That's how serious it is. You don't name your horses anymore. Not because you don't care, but because you care too much. You VA lost two already, and it never gets easier. But the march continues, and you ride. The saddle is worn, smooth. Your thighs are rubbed raw. Your boots stick to the stirrups from dried sweat and old blood. But you ride. You feel every shift in the animal beneath you, every breath, every heartbeat. You know when it's tired, when it's tense, when it senses danger before you do. Sometimes it saves your life. It swerves just in time, ducks low, keeps moving through smoke, and arrow swan your body wants to freeze. Other times you save it. You pull it from mud, lead it over icy ground, protect it in battle, shielding it from blades. Because it's not just an animal, it's your partner. Your life is tied to its legs, and together you ride on across frozen plains, through burning cities, into battles that tear the sky open, always on horseback, always moving. You don't remember what it feels like to walk for long. You don't remember what it feels like to eat a meal without one hand on a rein. You don't remember the last time you were still. And maybe you don't want to, because being still means stopping, and stopping means death. So you grip the saddle tighter, lean into the wind. Let the rhythm of hooves guide your thoughts. You ride Bekas, that's what soldiers doing. Genghis Khan's army. You reduntle your bones, forget the ground, until your dreams smell like leather and dust. Until the world is a blur of open sky and the steady, endless thunder off. Horses carrying history. The wind hits first, hard, sharp, sharp. It doesn't knock, it doesn't ease in. It slaps your face like a warning, then keeps going. You pull your scarf tighter, try to shield your cheeks, but the wind finds its way in any way through cloth, through leather, through layers that once felt thick-bit, now feel thin and useless. There is no shelter, no wall to hide behind, no trees, no tents, just sky and land and whatever you can carry. Your horse lowers its head, ears pinned back, muscles stiff with cold. You pat its neck, feel the chill in its coat, but you don't stop riding because no one stops. Not when the snow starts falling sideways, not when the sun is gone by midday, not when the air feels like knives on your skin. You keep going because that's the rule. And this is just one kind of weather. The Mongol army doesn't wait for perfect skies. It rides through all of it. Snow, rain, dust, heat, whatever the sky decides. You ride beneath it. Sometimes it's the cold. That deep, silent cold, the kind that creeps into your bone sand, refuses to leave. Your fingers stop working. Your breath turns to frost. You tuck your hands beneath your arms, but they stay numb. Your horse's hooves crunch over frozen ground. Each step sounds like something breaking. The world is quiet, except for the wind and the sound of teeth chattering in the dark. Other times, it's the heat, the kind that presses down on you, like you're carrying the sky on your shoulders. The sun blazes overhead, no clouds, no shade, just blue that never ends. You sweat, it soaks your clothes, turns dust into mud against your skin. Your mouth dries out fast, your lips crack. You chew on nothing just to feel like there's something there. You drink when you can, but the water's warm, bitter. You gag, but drink it anyway. You watch the horizon for a breeze, for any sign of clouds, but none come, so you ride through the heat until your thoughts go soft, until your eyes blur, until the world turns quiet again. Sometimes it's dust, dust that rises with every hoofstep, dust that gets into your nose, your throat, your eyes. You blink, but it doesn't help. The wind throws more into your face. You cough, you spit, you breathe. Through a cloth thoughts already soaked in sweat. The dust settles into your skin, into your gear, into your food. It grits between your teeth. You feel it even as you sleep. You forget what clean air feels like. Other times, dash, rain, cold, heavy rain fat soaks you in minutes. You ride through it, head bowed, cloak heavy. Your boots fill with water. Your gear sticks to your skin. Your fingers wrinkle. Your horse slows. You don't build fires. There's no time, no dry wood, just mud. You sleep wet. You wake cold. You ride again, and sometimes everything at once. You climb a mountain in wind and snow, descend into heat and dust, cross a river in fog, camp in hail. One day to the next, it changes, fast, violent. There is no pattern, no season to trust. The Mongol army moves through all of it. You carry no shelter, no spare clothes, only what fits on your saddle. And even that feels like too much. You've learned to live inside your coat, to fold yourself tight against the wind, to tie your hood so low you can barely see, but it keeps your ears warm. You sleep under the sky, even when it howls, even when it dumps snow on your chest or soaks your feet in freezing rain. You wake shivering, you ride anyway, because there is no delay, no shelter, no pause. You remember the worst storm, the kind that makes the horses restless, that turns the world white until you can't see the soldier in front of you. You rode through it. You had to. You kept your horse moving, by speaking softly, by kicking gently, by holding on when it slipped in hidden ice. You didn't know where you were going, just forward, always forward, and somehow you made it, but not everyone did. You saw Badis Hall buried in snow, frozen where they fell, faces stiff, hands still gripping, reinstat, led to nowhere. No time to mourn, no time to stop. You kept going, because Genghis Khan doesn't stop for weather. He rides through it, leads through it, wins through it, and if you want to stay in his army, you do the same. You ride through snow that bites your skin raw, through heat that melts your thoughts, through wind that knocks the breath out of your chest. You don't complain. You don't ask how long it will last. You lower your head, tighten your scarf, grip the reins and move, because no matter what the sky throws at you, the mission stays the same. Keep riding, keep riding. Survive the storm and reach the next one. You ride toward the city. It's quiet, too quiet. You feel it before you see it, that weight in the air, thick, still, like the wind has stopped breathing. The city walls rise in the distance, tall and proud, but silent. You see no guards, no torches, no signal fires. They know what's coming. They've heard the stories. Everyone has. They know who leads this army. They know whose banner rides with the dust. Genghis Khan. His name reaches ahead of his soldiers, across valleys, across mountains, carried by the mouths of merchants, survivors, the lucky few who escaped. Some call it a whisper, others call it a warning, but it always means the same thing: run, hide, or be crushed, because when this army arrives, there is no mercy. You hear it in the words of your commander. Clear, taut cold. There will be no negotiations, no waiting, no second chances. If the city resists, it falls. Completely. You've seen it before. Not just once. Whole towns reduced to smoke. Gatehouses torn apart. Streets turned to ash. Skulls stacked at the edge of the field as a message for the next place. This is not madness. This is not cruelty for the sake of it. This is control. It's the Khan's way of saying, don't resist, don't challenge, don't forget who holds power. And as a soldier in his army, you're part of that message. You're not here just to fight. You're here to strike fear, to be part of something larger than any one battle. A reputation built on obedience, on speed, on fire. You remember a city that didn't surrender. Its leaders stood on the walls, proud, defiant. They thought their stone would hold, but stone means nothing against fire, against siege engines, against endless waves of riders. You watched the gates fall, watched the soldiers pour through, watched the fires rise, and when it was over, no one remained. Not a shopkeeper, not a priest, not a child, all gone by order, because the Khan had warned them, and they chose wrong. You remember the silence afterward, how the ground still smoked, how even the birds had stopped singing. You weren't proud, not really. You weren't ashamed either. There wasn't time for either feeling. You just rode on to the next place, because that's what this army does. It moves. It conquers. It reminds the world what happens when you say no. You didn't set the rules, but you follow them. You have to. When the command comes, you act, even when it means breaking down doors, even when it means setting flame to roofs, even when it means drawing your sword against people who don't even lift one back. You tell yourself it's about loyalty, about duty, about survival, and it is. Because if you refuse, if you hesitate, the army turns cold toward you. Disloyalty is punished. Hesitation is dangerous. One Pausacon cost the whole operation. So you do what you're told, even when it sits heavy in your chest, even when the smoke clings to your skin, even when the screams echo long after the walls fall. You keep your eyes forward, because there's always another city, always another lesson to teach, and the lesson is always the same. We are not here to play fair. We are here to win. Completely, absolutely, permanently. The Khan doesn't want half victories. He wants surrender before the first arrow flies. He wants enemies to break out the sound of hoofbeats. He wants gates open Edbear, the scouts even arrive. And fear makes that possible. Fear is the first weapon. Long before the sword, long before the siege, fear makes cities fold, makes generals kneel, makes kings send gold, and oaths instead of soldiers. And fear comes from stories, from fire, from those who once stood Talbot, were buried deep. You are part of those stories now. You ride through the remains, see the blackened stones, the carved symbols, the bones that no one buried. You see the faces of the survivors and other places, how they lower their eyes, how they move out of your way, how they tremble even when you're just passing through, and you know the fear is working. It's ugly, it's hard, but it's how this army wins. Not just with numbers, not just with weapons, with reputation, with what people imagine will happen. They say no. You don't speak of these things at night, not around the fire, not beside your horse. You sit in silence. Let the wind carry the memories away, at least for a while. Then the horn blows again, and the army moves on, because the next city is already watching the horizon, already wondering if they should fight, and you'll be there soon to give them an answer. The pain doesn't hit right away. At first, it's just pressure, a strange warmth, then a sting, then something deeper, something that makes your knees buckle. You look down, there's blood. It's yours. It soaks through the side of your coat, dark and spreading. You press your hand to it. Your palm comes away. Red dot, you blink dot, feel the world tilt a little. The sound of horses fades. Your breath comes fast. But no one stops. You are still in the field, still riding, still moving with the others. You don't call out. You don't fall behind. Not yet. You can't. Because here, an injury doesn't mean rest. It doesn't mean help. It means trouble. There are no doctors. No clean white tents. No surgeons waiting with tools and quiet voices. There is only you and your gear, and whatever you know. You reach into your saddlebag, pull out a strip of cloth. It's not clean. It doesn't have to be you. Wrap it tight around your side. Pull it until the pressure hurts more than the wound. Tie it. Grit your teeth. Keep riding. Later, when the fighting stops, when the march slows, you'll look again, if you're lucky. Someone nearby has a poultice, a handful of herbs, old knowledge passed down through rough hands. A root for fever, a leaf for swelling. They'll grind it, pack it into the wound, wrap it again, say a few words that aren't quite a prayer but feel close. You sit still while they work, bite down on leather, clutch the ground. There's no painkiller, just the cold and your own silence. If it's a small wound, you might heal with time, with care, with luck. But luck runs thin in this army. If it's bad, if the wound is deep, if it smells wrong, if it swells and oozes, if the skin turns red or black, then you know. It's not the sword that will kill you, it's what comes after, the rot, the fever, the waiting. You, seen it happen. A man takes a cut to the leg, he binds it, keeps walking, keeps riding. The next day, he's sweating. The day after, he can't move. By the third, he's gone. You watched him breathe his last with his head on a saddle, his hands gripping grass like he could pull himself back to life. There was nothing you could do. There's never much to do. You don't have stitches. You don't have disinfectant. You don't have time. Even broken bones don't mean rest. They're splinted with branches, tied up tight. Then you get back in the saddle. Because if you fall behind, you're left behind, and no one carries another man's weight. No one. You try to stay careful. Block when you can. Dodge. Wear the right layers. Stay alert. But the truth is sooner or later, everyone gets hurt. A fall, an arrow, a bad landing, a sharp rock in the wrong place. And when it happens, you just deal with it. You've learned to ride with bruised ribs, to hold your sword with blistered hands, to sleep on a shoulder that doesn't move anymore. You've seen men with missing finger still drawing a bow, men with one eye still leading scouts, because that's the only choice. There's no hospital waiting, no healer with gentle hands, just dirt, wind, pain, end, maybe a little clothened, a quiet friend woe knows how to stop the bleeding just long enougher. You to make it through the night. You don't ask for pity, you don't cry, you bite down, wrap it tighter. Stand up again, because Genghis Khan's army keeps moving, and wounds, no matter how deep, have to keep up. You sit on the ground, your back against your saddle, your cloak wrapped tight around your shoulders. The fire is out. There was never much of one to begin with. Just a few coals, a whisper of heat, now fading to black. You stare into the night. There's no laughter, no songs, no friendly voices rising in the dark, just wind, always the wind, and the low, distant breath of horse shifting in the cold. This is what peace looks like here. Still, gray, unspoken, but it's not real peace. It's waiting, waiting for the horn to sound, waiting for the commander to call, waiting for the next day, the next order, the next ride. You can't relax, not really. You keep your boots on, your bow close, your eyes half open, even when they're shut. Because here, you don't sleep like you used to, not like before. You don't stretch out, you don't dream, you curl in, tight and silent, your head on leather, your hands near your blade, just in case, because it only takes one shout in the dark, one rider galloping into camp, one scout with bad news, and you're up again, back in the saddle, back in the cold, back in motion. There are no games. Here, no playing, no resting, no easing the tension from your shoulders with laughter or stories. Even when a battle is won, there's no celebration. Maybe a dry cup of milk, a nod from a comrade, an extra strip of meat if supplies allow. But joy, that's dangerous. It makes you soft, slow, open. So you learn not to feel it. You keep your face calm, your steps light, your heart steady, because this army runs on control, discipline, stillness beneath the storm, and comfort. Comfort does not belong. You don't have a pillow or a bed or even a roof most nights, just your cloak, your gear, the ground. Sometimes it's dirt, sometimes snow, sometimes rock that digs into your spine until morning. You shift, you move, but it never gets better. You wake, stiff, sore, cold. Then you ride again. You remember music, faintly, maybe from childhood, maybe from before. But here, no one sings. The silence is louder than anything. You don't ask about home. You don't talk about before. You don't think about afterward. Because, in this army, there is only now, and now is hard. You don't smile at strangers. Don't wave. Don't joke. Your world is your unit, your horse, your weapon, and everything else is either behind you or in your way. You've stopped counting days. They blur one into another, each one long, each one sharp. You wake, you ride, you fight, you wait. And even in the moments of quiet, you don't truly rest, because you know this army never stops, and you are always in order, away from battle. So you sleep with one ear open. You eat fast. You keep your boots dry. When you can, you learn how to sew your own wounds, how to fight through fever, how to stay still even when everything inside you wants to run. And every day, you remind yourself, you are still here, still breathing, still riding, still moving with the storm. But you know the truth. Peace isn't coming, not tomorrow, not the day after, maybe not ever, not while the Khan still rides, not while the world is still unbroken. So you stop looking for peace. You stop hoping for comfort. You just keep going, because there's no other way. And here, in this army, that's what survival looks like. Not rest, not ease, not safety, just motion and silence, and the cold weight of knowing every morning could be your last. You thought you'd seen war. You thought you'd known fear, riding into villages that couldn't fight back, watching walls crumble under siege, facing men who ran before the first arrow flew. But this is different. You hear it before you see it. The beat of war drums in the distance, the steady pulse of preparation, an army waiting, not running, not begging, ready. And now, so must you be. You stand beside your horse, hands tightening the last straps of your armor, jaw locked, heart heavy. Because this battle, it's not a lesson, it's not a warning, it's a test. The enemy is strong, disciplined, not just farmers with blades. These are trained warriors, men who have held swords longer than you've been alive, men who don't fear your name. Not yet, but they will. You mount. Take your place in the column. Your commander speaks softly, no shouting here, just calm reminders. Keep your line. Watch for signals. Move when told. This is not chaos. This is precision. Because against a real army, you can't afford mistakes. The scouts return. The signal rises. It begins. The march turns into a storm. Thousands of hooves rolling forward. A line of riders, tight and fast, sweeping through the open field. And then you see them, armor glinting in the sun, shields raised, spears ready. A wall of bodies that does not move, no fear in their eyes. They've prepared for this. Your fingers grip your bow tighter. You feel the tension in your chest, the cold calm before a fight hat may be your last. Then the command, fire. You let the arrow fly, and another, and another. A black cloud fills the sky. But they don't scatter. They raise their shields. Close ranks. Step forward. Discipline. You ride in a circle, firing again. The Mongol way constant motion. No standing still, but they adapt, hold their ground. Push forward now. It's time. You draw your sword. Your horse surges forward us. The armies crash together, metal on metal, shield against. Bone screams, grunts, the roar of war. You block a blow, counter, move, strike. Again, every second matters. Every movement must be clean. There is no room for fear now, only focus. You're fast, you have to be. You dodge a spear, swing low, kick, pull, back. There's blood, not just theirs. Your shoulder aches. You don't stop. You can't. You hear your brothers shouting, falling, fighting. The line bends, but does not break. Your horse slips you. Pull it straight. Another soldier lunges, you parry. Barely. Too close. Too close. You fall back. Reform the line. Regroup. This is what it takes. Not just bravery. Not just speed. Intelligence. Coordination. Endurance. These battles last hours, sometimes days. Not just a charge and a cheer, but long stretches of dust, blood, and grit. You fight, retreat, circle, attack again. You try to break their will. They try to hold. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you win, but not without loss. You ride past fallen comrades. You ride past your own doubt, because this is real war. no glory, no stories, just survival. And still, you move forward because Genghis Khan doesn't fight easy enemies. He takes on empires, he challenges kings, and you ride behind him. You face generals who have never lost, knights with polished armor, archers who fire in volleys, so thick they block the sun. But your army adapts, learns, changes. You ride faster, you flank, you fake retreats, you divide their forces. You never stop thinking, because strength isn't enough. You must outsmart, outmaneuver, and endure, even when your arms are tired, even when your legs are shaking, even when your thoughts turn to fear. You keep going, because if you don't, they win. And in this army, losing isn't just defeat, it's death. The battle ends long after the sun begins to fall. The field is littered with bodies, smoke curls into the air. You feel the bruises, the cuts, the exhaustion settling in. But you're still standing, still breathing. You lived today. You nod to the man beside you. He nods back. Nothing needs to be said, because you both know tomorrow might be another fight, another enemy just as strong, just as fast, and you'll have to be ready again. This is what it means to be part of Genghis Khan's army. You don't just conquer the weak. You face the best the world has to offer, and you fight the mantle they break. Or you do. You don't unpack your things anymore. You just tighten the straps on your saddle. Check your waterskin feel for the blade tied to your hip. You make sure everything is where it needs to be, because you'll be moving again soon. You always are. There is no home out here, no village you return to, no house waiting in the distance. Just the land and more of it. Mountains that rise like walls in the sky, rivers that twist without end, forests so deep you forget what open space feels like, fields that roll on for days, marshes that swallow hooves, sand that burns your feet even through your boots. And you keep going. Through all of it, you don't ask how far, you don't ask how long. Because the answer is always the same. Keep moving. Some days you ride until the sun is high. Other days you start before the light comes. Sometimes you don't stop at all. You sleep on horseback when you can, or slumped over a saddle, or with your back against a tree-leaf. There happens to be one nearby. You learn to rest with one ear open. You learn to rest with one ear open, one eye half closed, one hand near your weapon, because even the night doesn't promise peace. The wind changes, the terrain shifts, but your pace doesn't. T.forward, always forward. The ground under your horse has changed more times than you can count. Snow one week, mud the next, dry, cracked earth. After that, green valleys. You barely notice before they pass beneath your hooves. You cross rivers with water up to your chest. Lead your horse over rocks, slippery with moss. Watch the fog rise around your legs until it feels like you're marching through a dream. And when the land opens up again, you don't pause to admire it. You just keep going. Because there's no destination, just a direction, and the order to move. You pass through places. Most people will never see ancient paths carved through stone, high ridges with sky all around you, villages so quiet they feel like ghosts still live there, but you never stay long enough to remember them. You pass through like wind, fast, cold, gone. You ride beside men who say nothing, not because they're unfriendly, but because there's nothing left to say. You've all seen the same dirt, felt the same cold, heard the same command. Keep moving, even when your legs ache, even when your eyes are heavy, even when you've forgotten the last time you truly rested. You remember when one soldier fell behind. His horse was slow, his gear loose. No one turned around by the time he caught up. The commander barely looked at him. He was gone the next day. You don't ask what happened. You already know. This army is not a place for standing still. Stillness is weakness. Stillness is death. The Khan moves like fire across the steppe. He burns across the world. He doesn't stop for rain or heat or frozen ground. He doesn't wait for comfort. He doesn't ask if you're tired. And if he doesn't stop, neither do you. You've learned to ride through pain, through hunger, through silence that stretches for hours. You ride even when you don't know where you're going. You trust the man in front of you. He trusts the man in front of him. And somewhere, far ahead, the order moves forward. That's all you need, because this isn't a march, it's a wave. It flows over hills and for sand. Doesn't break until the Khan says so. You become part of it, not a man, not a name, just motion. And sometimes, you forget what it was like to stay still. You forget what it meant to wake in the same place twice, to hang your gear and leave it there, to know the smell of home, because now your home is the saddle. Your path is the next mile. Your rest is whatever sleep you steal under a cold sky. You've stopped hoping for comfort. You've stopped looking back. Because there's only one thing here that matters: movement. And as long as you can ride, as long as you can walk, as long as your legs still carry weight, you will keep going, because the world ahead is still wide, still waiting, still unconquered, and you are not allowed to stop until it isn't. The sky is dark, but you're not asleep. You stare up at the stars, not because they're beautiful, though sometimes they are, but because there's nothing else to look at, nothing else to hold on to the quiet. You've wrapped yourself in your cloak. Your saddle rests under your head. Your horse is nearby, breathing steady like it always does. But still you're awake, and you've been awake longer than you can remember. Your body is tired, so tired it aches without movement. But your mind won't stop, won't let go, won't give you peace. It never does, not anymore, because it's not. Just your body, Thak, carries the weight of this army. It's your mind, and some days that's the heaviest part. You've seen things you never talk about. You've seen faces just before the end, eyes wide, hands shaking, mouths forming words you couldn't understand. You've walked through streets that still burned, through fields that weren't fields, any more, just ground soaked in something too dark to name. You've watched men cry out for help with voices too weak to be heard. You've seen friends fall beside you, so fast, so suddenly, you didn't even have time to say goodbye. And then you kept riding, because you had to. No one gives you to meadow. Sit with what you saw. No one pulls you aside and asks how you're feeling. You carry it inside, where it festers, and you try not to think about it, because if you think too long, if you let it grow too big, you might break. And no one survives a broken mind in this army. So you stay quiet. You breathe through it. You focus on the next task, the next mile, the next command. But at night, it all comes back. The faces, the sounds, the things you did, the things you didn't do. You think of your family. Sometimes, not often. It hurts too much. But sometimes, when the night is still, when the stars look like they did back home, you remember a voice, a meal, a fire that didn't come with fear, a place where you knew you could sleep. You wonder if they're thinking of you, if they're waiting, if they still hope, and you wonder if you'll ever see them again. But you don't let yourself hope too hard, because hope, like peace, feels like something you're not allowed to have anymore. You tell yourself you're strong, that this is what it takes, that you chose this, but even that starts to wear thin. You see it in others too, the hollow look in their eyes, the way they stare at the ground for too long, the way they flinch even when there's no threat. No one talks about it, but you all feel it, the tiredness that never goes away, the sadness that hangs in the silence, the fear that you'll wake up tomorrow and feel even less than you do now. And some don't wake at all, not from wounds, but from something else, a quiet giving up, a slipping away. You hear the stories, the man who walked into the river, the one who just stopped speaking, the one who never unsaddled his horse again. You shake them off. Tell yourself you're not like that. You're still here, still riding, still following orders. But deep down, you wonder if you're getting close. You wonder how long a person can go without joy, without peace, without something warm to hold on to. You've trained your body to survive, to keep going when everything hurts, but your mind, that's harder. You can't bind a thought with cloth. You can't sharpen your split blade, so you carry the weight, all of it, and you hope that maybe weight won't get too heavy, that maybe tomorrow will be a little quieter, a little lighter, but even that hope feels dangerous. So you lie under the stars, watching them flicker, wondering if they've ever looked down in anyone like you, tired, hurting, silent. You breathe in, let the cold fill your lungs, and you close your eyes, not to sleep, but to rest, if only for a moment. Because you know the horn will sound again soon. The army will rise, the march will continue, and your mind, no matter how tired, has to ride with it. You've made it this far, across frozen hills, dusty valleys, burning deserts, through smoke and screams, through quiet nights and restless days. You've carried the weight of a sword, and the weight of your thoughts. You've seen what war does to a place, what it does to a person. You've followed the rules, kept your head down, stayed in line. You fought, you bled, you survived, and now you wonder, was it worth it? You lie under the stars again, like so many nights before. The earth beneath you is cold and still. Your hands rest on your chest, your eyes blinking slow. The fire is low, your horse is quiet. No orders tonight, no alarms, just the night end. The questions that come with it. You think about what you've lost, sleep, warmth, time. You think about the laughter you used to know, the voices from home, the scent of bread, the sound of stories around a fire that wasn't lit for war. All gone now, or too far away to reach. You think about what you gained, skills, maybe strength, a name that means something in places you never dreamed of, but fame, not really, riches, not for most. Only a few ever saw that. The rest just kept marching, from one victory to the next, carrying scars instead of silver. And when the war was done, when the city fell, when the banners dropped, what waited? Another road, another march, another enemy in the distance. You were part of something great. You can feel that. You can say that, but greatness stost. Hold your hand at night. It doesn't heal your wounds. It doesn't tell you it's proud of you. It just moves forward, with or without you. So was it worth it? You don't know. Maybe no one does. Maybe some never ask. But now, in this quiet, when the stars blink softly and the grass shifts in the wind, you're allowed to ask, you're allowed to breathe, to rest, to let the memory of hooves fade, to let the weight of armor fall away, to close your eyes without fear of what comes next. Because out here, far from the clang of steel, far from the shouting, far from the eyes that expect you to be strong, you can be still. You can imagine what it feels like to take off the uniform, to place the sword down, to walk barefoot without always looking over your shoulder. You can imagine a world where the riding ends, where your legs stop aching, where your heart doesn't race it. Every sudden sound, you can imagine the wind without dust in it, the air without fire, the night without tension. You let yourself feel the silence, and in that silence a new kind of strength, not the strength to fight, but the strength to let go, to stop chasing, to stop proving, to just be. It's not weakness, it's not failure, it's peace, the kind no army can give you, the kind no victory can promise. Only this moment, right now. Your hands rest gently, your breath slows, your eyes blink once, then again, then stay closed, and the horses, you hear them only faintly now, far in the distance, like a dream that's beginning to fade. Their hooves don't thunder anymore. They drift, like clouds, like memory, like sleep. You are no longer riding, no longer fighting, no longer watching the horizon. You are just here, safe, still, free. Let the battlefield go. Let the flags fall. Let the dust settle. Let your mind rest. You did enough. You saw enough. You endured enough. Now you can sleep. Sleep now in peace.